Hi, everybody, and welcome to an expert liberation interview. I'm Ben Hunt, the expert liberator, and I'm here with a very dear friend of mine, Phil Escott. Phil, you and I have known each other for only a year, I would say. But, I had to include your story in the Expert Liberation book because it's just a fascinating tale of a journey that I would say is very much like my own. That I started off in web design and I followed my nose through all types of things and ended up in really fascinated with soil and regenerative agriculture and stuff. And it eventually led me to your Facebook group. And eventually, to cut a long story short, we've ended up being business partners. And you have read Expert Liberation. So I just thought it would be really interesting for people to hear you tell your story about the journey that you've been on, and then we'll come to how we got together and look ahead maybe to the future a bit. So do we go back to about 2010, I think, do we, for the I would say defining moment in your story, which is when you found yourself suddenly with your health crippled. Does it go back that far, to 2010?
I would say it goes back a lot further. I mean, first of all, yeah, thank you for getting me on. It's a joy to talk about this stuff, because I think I always end up just talking, sort of getting interviewed about diet stuff, and this is cool. And it's funny, isn't it? It's just a year. It seems like loads longer than that. And that's not because it's been horrifically unpleasant and we've had restraining orders or anything like that. I mean, it's funny, we'll come to it later, but this sort of mastermind alliance we've got, it's wonderful when you do follow your own heart and you find the people who really resonate with you. It just, nothing really seems like work anymore, does it? It's marvelous.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. But my story goes back a long way. It started with an interest in health and diet and spirituality and anything like that, of how to get to a state where there's tremendous comfort in the body, and it's very, very adaptable and healthy and strong, and the mind as well, and the spirit. I mean, everything I was interested in, but it did. Yeah, I wrote articles, I wrote books and things through the 90s. I thought I was a tremendous expert. And then I kind of got bored with it all after giving up a gym that I was running. And I just fell off the wagon, really, and started eating rubbish. I was very much sort of a plant-based guy, but it was pretty much sort of, cheese on toast rather than anything that normal people would think are healthy, that I don't particularly think anymore. But so I fell off the wagon, got pretty fat, and joints started hurting a lot, lots of health issues mounting up that I didn't really listen to, because I thought, oh, well, it's just aging. So many people think that sort of thing. And then through sort of 2008, 2009, I had horrific back pain all the time. And I was living on painkillers and anti-inflammatories. And then early 2010, I had a bout of something called iritis, which is where the iris kind of sticks to the lens. It's horrible. It's an inflammation in the eye. It's absolute agony to refocus. It's a horrible thing. And I remember them asking me at the time, have you got some serious arthritis? And no, I didn't think so. Actually, I did, but I didn't really know. I hadn't figured it out. But coming back from a holiday in Thailand and finding, 2 weeks after that, one ankle blew up, and then the other ankle, and then the knee, and then loads of other joints, and it really started running rampant. I think the meds that I was taking to stop the back pain and digestive issues really put the last straw in place that broke the camel's back.
So you're on like non-steroidal anti-inflammatories and stuff, because they can
and those protein
pump, gut, can't they?
Yeah, and those protein pump inhibitors, when you've got reflux, which are absolute waste of time. Well, I mean, they're worse than that. They're downright dangerous. Yes, they allow you to eat curries at 11 o'clock at night without having reflux all night, but they're a bargain with the devil. They're awful things. anyway, so yeah, I found myself completely crippled, and I thought, why me? You know, I'm a great yogi. I know exactly how to eat, even if, you know, I've fallen off the wagon a bit. And it was weird, actually, because I just decided to get into social media, and in 2009 I'd started up a website with my book that I'd written in '96, and I thought I'll chart my own return to health. And it was funny that when I went back onto what I thought was healthy was actually when I got really sick. I was kind of better off on the wheat and dairy for a while, but then it was kind of embarrassing, and I thought, well, I can't put any of this up. So I was trashed for a couple of years, really, and I had to find my way out. And I was so into that plant-based thing, went down the veganism route, which was a complete disaster, ended up absolutely stick thin, lost 90 pounds, and I was properly emaciated and still inflamed, still in pain. And eventually I came across low carb eating and high fat and carnivory, and things started to turn around. And by about 2013, 2014, I was back playing the drums. So I'm a drummer as well. And things were looking quite good. But then they really galloped on a pace in 2015 when I discovered carnivory. And what my passion has always been, I think, apart from playing drums, what is helping people to grow spiritually, physically, mentally, you know, emotionally. And I realized that I really didn't know any of this stuff. I thought I did. I'd studied loads of traditional things, not officially, but just read a billion books and, you know, that sort of thing. And always up for helping people. And you had kind of mediocre results. But then when I started a Facebook group, 100% Carnivore and Beyond, was the time when I really, well, first of all, I wrote a book, Arthritis, the Best Thing That Ever Happened to Me.
Yeah,
Starting.
I have that here.
Oh, cool. There it is.
A signed copy that I'm reading through.
So I found the medical profession to be utterly useless for chronic disease, and I had to find my way out. The early part of the book is all the struggles with the medical professionals, and then finding my way into diet and emotional balancing and that sort of thing. And the third part of the book is really awakenings that have happened along the way, and even resisting awakenings, which is sort of fighting against what is, which often causes autoimmunity as well. It all piles up with many different factors. And I started, the picture started to become clear over the 2 years from 2010 to 2012, when I had quite a bit of money, and I was really lucky to be able to just sit on the sofa in agony and just research 12 hours a day. And I got to know various amazing docs and healers, you know, out there. When I say healers, I don't mean sort of, you know, faith healers or anything, but just people who really know how to advise somebody to allow their body to heal themselves. And then getting into carnivory, I haven't eaten a plant for 5 years now, apart from a couple of mouthfuls here and there, but literally sort of 3 or 4 mouthfuls here and there for 5 years. Maybe a roast potato here and that sort of thing, but that's it. Certainly no green veg. And I started a Facebook group for just a few friends in 2018, yeah, at Christmas. And it was only like 5 people who said, oh, you eat only meat, and we've been trying the paleo diet and not really had so many good results, and how about you help us out with that? So I started that off, and suddenly people started joining. It was bizarre. And now I think, what are we on, Ben? You're in it 13,000 and something?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. As we speak in April 2020 now. And that was great. And what it allowed me to do was to start doing, I was doing a few already, but to do more consultations and really see how what I had learned during my illness could help other people. And it's been so incredibly rewarding. And it's just been from being an old hippie who has completely ignored any sort of gainful employment. I know I've done many things, from gemstone dealing to dispatch riding to selling oriental carpets to
running a gym.
Sorry?
Running a gym?
Running a gym, yeah, playing drums, and you know, loads of weird things I've done, property development and sort of that kind of thing. but I've always done my own thing, but they've never really got my heart, apart from the drumming. So being able to actually talk to people and have it, that it's so rewarding. I get these messages, wow, this has cleared up, the arthritis has cleared up. I have to make a disclaimer, I don't give any medical advice. It's just telling people what to cut out to allow their bodies to heal, and 90% of the time they do. It's fabulous. It's actually very, very simple, but it takes a long time to dig up that knowledge. And I'm sure if a lot of people are listening, they have passions that they've looked into that they know more about than your average person. And don't be shy. You know, go out there, read Ben's book and get it on audiobook, as I did, because I'm a lazy bugger. But it just to get those ideas into your head to give you confidence that you can use your own knowledge to help people. Because quite often, I think it's very difficult to listen to somebody in any field who is the most advanced, because you don't understand. It's quite good to go to somebody who's maybe on the next level, and maybe there might be 10 levels or 100 levels, but you can go to these levels next and next and next. And I'm no great scientist. I understand some of it, and I understand some of the physiology behind what I do as I study the great masters, but it doesn't really go in. I'm not a science head, but I can tell people all the practical things to do and why they work.
And you worked out so much of this for yourself through self-experimentation, what you call the N=1 approach, where the sample size for the experiment is just one individual.
That's right. But a lot of people, you know, particularly vegans, will slate me for saying, and they say, oh, well, it's just you, then there's no proof, there's no research, but actually there's enormous amount of research. I think when one looks into the world of science, you have to look at a lot of the science that's sponsored and nonsensical that's mostly on the mainstream. And people tend to believe that, but there is actually some great science out there that is independent, and they were coming to the same conclusions as I was. Particularly about diet and light and EMFs, that kind of thing. And also there are some tremendous experts who are coming across to it now and really shouting about it. But also, not so much in 2010, there weren't so many people, but now there's so many people who have come across to it, and their stories are out there. The people criticize them for being anecdotes, but they're actually more accurate than the epidemiological evidence that they have from studies. So I was seeing people finding that. And as I went on, my confidence grew, because I was seeing lots of other people finding this independently. And then the doctors started popping up, you know, admitting to it and saying, yes, this is working. And I can't believe what it's doing to my patients. They're all healing. And the great doctors who do that, who are interested in seeing people's health recover rather than the financial aspect of it, they can't help it, even if it risks their careers. And they do it, and they come out and they talk and they shout louder than I do about it. And this was marvelous, because not only when you're following your passion, and maybe I set up the Facebook group not for any financial gain, although it's led to it in indirect ways.
So like it was just an expression of, you know, you wanted to do, like you say, you're a conduit. You absorb the knowledge from all these different fields, apply it to yourself, get results, and then share. And that's the kind of the natural cyclical flow of nature, really.
Exactly. I mean, look at the contacts we've got now. I mean, I met Ben through that group. I met Dr. Jeremy Ayres, who we work with now, who's kind of dropped the doctor, hasn't he? Graeme Norbury, you know, that after the four of us who are partners in the Human Unleashed, that was mentioned also in Ben's book. But it's when you have a niche like that and people come along, you'll find those kind of like minds, which you would never find sitting at home thinking, I can't put myself out there. But you just never know what's going to happen. You never know the people who are going to turn up.
It's like one of those traps, isn't it? You know, that we can fall into thinking, I'm not an expert. I'm not the expert in this stuff. And therefore I don't have permission, because I'm not qualified. I don't have permission to share this stuff. But I think just from what you've described so far, there are definitely some themes coming through, Phil. And one of them, I would say, is definitely this deep-seated desire to help others. You know,
definitely, yeah.
And it also seems as though, you know, so you learned some stuff, you got some results, and you felt the urge to share. So you set up this Facebook group with no real motive to it, other than to have a place where you could share and discuss and continue to explore. And it happens to have exploded to 13,000 people in the space of 18 months. Now, to me, that would suggest that what you did when you stumbled on carnivory through your own determined research is that you happened on a wave. You caught a wave, and that's very often. It's like, this is what I try and advise people to do. If you think about like a surfer who wants to ride a big wave, first they have to paddle out into the ocean like crazy, and then get themselves in the right position so that when that wave starts to swell, they can pop up on the board and do their stuff. And you want to be the person that's at that point when that wave arrives, which takes some luck and some kind of maybe intuition or anticipation as well. Because carnivory, literally in the last 2 years, has suddenly become a big thing. And someone described you a few months ago as the godfather of carnivory.
That was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When you do these things and set this kind of thing up and end up a big fish in a little pond, you get a lot of interviews. And so it was 2 people independently within a month, I think, came up with this. Because I asked one of them, I said, "Oh, you're not using that again." He goes, "Does somebody else come up with it?" It was really strange. Yeah, it was sort of, at one point, I think I was the second most searched on Google for carnivory in the world. And I thought, isn't that bizarre? You do get imposter syndrome kicking in all the time. And you think, this is very strange. But I don't think I am anymore. There's some docs come up who get far more hits. But I think what I have is a unique sort of little niche of relating carnivory to spirituality, which it usually isn't, but I think it very much is, and just taking into account all of the things that we've now taken even further in the Human Unleashed, which is all the ancestral disconnects. Because it's not about carnivory; it's just that there's so much nonsense built up around diet. You end up talking about that for longer.
So let's tell the story.
Stuff, yeah.
Yeah. How did that next phase come about? Because you bumped into Graeme and then Jeremy and then me completely separately.
Yeah. Well, it was. I was giving a talk locally, and it was on sort of ancestral health awareness or something, diet and lifestyle. And in the middle of it, a guy walked in with some orange shades on, some orange glasses, blue blocking glasses. And I thought, this guy probably looks like he knows what he's talking about. I'll look forward to talking to him afterwards. And it was Graeme. And it came to light that he was so incredibly knowledgeable, and we became great friends. That was before I even set up the Facebook group. But then Jeremy Ayres popped up on the Facebook group, having been a great healer for 30 years, and then having discovered carnivory almost as one of the final pieces of the puzzle that really accelerates people's health, which blew his mind, as it did all of us. We're not just sort of mad cavemen who suddenly discovered this. Most of us have been in every single diet or tried every single diet under the sun and seen the results of it. And then it was around the same time, I think, you popped up and said you'd like to help out with my subtraction method course. And then I watched one of your free video courses, and I was blown away. And I thought, I've got to get this dude on board. It's great. And I thought, I was a bit in awe of you, to be honest. I mean, this guy knows about marketing and stuff. I'm terrible with all that kind of thing. I thought, I'm going to talk to Ben. And it's funny now because we're just mates, still have the same respect, but we're mates, and that's cool. It's these funny sort of preconceptions you have of people, that there's this sort of hardcore marketer. I'll never get in touch with him, but you do, and you can make these connections. That's one thing I've always been good at, that I don't have any imposter syndrome about. I am very good at making connections, always have been, in music, in everything. If there's some very famous drummer I want to take lessons with, I'll take them. I'll get in touch with him and I'll take them. I won't sort of go, "Oh, you can't talk to that." No, he's just some guy. They're all just some guy. So carry on. Then Ben got kind of interested in what we were doing with our plans with the Human Unleashed. It wasn't called that then. And we all drove over in a van and hung out at Ben's amazing place with all the ducks and dogs and God knows what that he's got running around. And the plans were formed. And it was a quite an amazing weekend, really. I think it was a turning point for all of us. So that's how that worked out. And then Ben, with his technical wizardry, has been setting up the websites and does all the videos and stuff, which is beyond me. And we just get to blather and do the research and then bring it into this space. And it's been just a wonderful job. I can't think of anything I'd rather be doing. So, and that just came from being incredibly irresponsible, not going and getting a proper job, blowing the money that I did have, which if I'd read Ben's book back in sort of 2003, particularly when I ended up with quite a bit of money from an inheritance that lasted quite a long time, actually, on and off, with a bit of property developing and whatever. But then when I got sick, we just used it all up. But looking back now, I'd have known exactly what to do, even when I was sick and sitting on the sofa, of how to hang on to that money. But now it's exciting. I've got to do it from square one again. And it's beginning to work, and it's lovely journey of just being irresponsible and going against everybody's advice and following my heart, which is what's so great about Ben's book, because that's basically what it tells you to do. And then it gets into the technical stuff about what to do, but just to have faith in your own heart, because that's what we're here for. You know, you get, like everybody always says, people on their deathbed never wish that they'd worked more. But if you never work, like doing something that is your passion, you're not going to have that regret on your deathbed, I don't think.
Yeah. So following your heart, and I think part of it is also accepting that it's a journey. There is no destination in life, you know, other than death one day, you know. But just take it each day as it comes, and you know, like you said, you've definitely got a talent for making those connections as well, which I think has been really, really useful. You know, because this Human Unleashed group wouldn't be together if you hadn't first decided just to put on a live event for, you know, no particular reason, you know, in your local area, in a church hall or wherever it was. And then, you know, so what we're doing is you've created an environment where these chance happenings can occur, you know, and that's what it's about. If you stay home and you don't write and you don't blog and you don't put on events in church halls and you don't contact your heroes and say, let's do something, then it doesn't happen. You do just have to put the imposter syndrome to one side, if there is any, and just go for it.
Oh God, I still get it. I mean, most times we talk, I get it, unless it's a subject that I'm incredibly up on, because recently we've been doing all the talks about the present crazy situation, and Jeremy and Graeme just go off on one, don't they, for so long, and they know way more than me, and I can do it on my own if somebody interviews me. I've been doing a few interviews recently where I've been talking about it, and I can sketch out the basics of what I think might be going wrong now. But Jeremy and Graeme go into beautiful detail, and I sit there having imposter syndrome sometimes, and I think, wow. And then I always remind myself of many very, very successful people who have always said, what's the secret? To work with people who are much smarter than you. And don't worry about it, you know, because there's always
also a key. And I mentioned that in the book, is that you individually do not have to be the world's expert in a particular thing in order to be a focal point for that thing for the world. And you did that, you know, for autoimmunity, for carnivory, and that was pretty much by accident. It's just the fact that you showed up and put yourself out there and you created the group, you know, and now I've put your picture on the group banner, and you know,
I know
you're kind of a celebrity now. But
I was kind of resisting that for a bit, wasn't I?
Nobody comes up and pins a badge on you, you know, to say you are now officially, you know, an expert, and you now have permission to go out and to help people. No, you know, it's the difference between have, do, be, and be, do, have. You know, the traditional psychology is have, do, be. If I had, Phil's talent or Graeme's brain or Jeremy's experience, in all these things, then I could do what an expert does. I could do what, the celebrity does. And then I would be successful. Then I will be happy. Then I will be rich or whatever. Right. But the reality is it doesn't work like that, because no one's ever going to come and, just award you anything. You have to go and make it yourself. So it's actually have, do, be. You have to, it's be, do, have. You have to be that person starting now. And then because you are that person, then you go out and you do the things that person does. If you are, the godfather of carnivory, or you're the autoimmunity guy or the expert liberation guy, you get up on a Monday morning and you do what that person does, because it's who you are. It's like, that's what kind of animal you are. And then, and then you will have the outcomes that will, follow along, as you've shown. And you did you put on a conference as well. That wasn't probably just before we met last year in Spain.
Yeah, it was in April last year in Spain, and that was wonderful. Jeremy and Graeme were there. I wish you'd been there. It was we just made so many beautiful contacts. What's so great is that it's not just that we found each other, but I mean, how many contacts have we got now? I mean, really world-class doctors, researchers, all kinds who we call friends, and who have. I was really touched when I did that subtraction method, the autoimmunity course, and the testimonials I got from some health professionals who were willing to actually put their names on that course, when I'm just some dude who fixed himself. But then again, when you think about it, being some dude who's just fixed himself is probably a hell of a lot more knowledge than you get in 7 years of medical school, really, in practical terms, especially since all the solutions they have don't fix anybody with autoimmunity. They say it's incurable. So that was wonderful, the connections we made, and a lot of them were made at the retreat. We already knew these people like Dr. Paul Mabry, Dr. Jafir Clements. I mean, really fantastic, open-minded, wonderful doctors. And this year we were going to have Sean Baker along, and some great people as well. And of course, this coronavirus thing has scuppered our plans with that one. So we're going to have to postpone at least, which was a shame. But I'm sure we'll do loads more in the future. And that's a real pleasure. I mean, it's a lot of work to set up. I wouldn't, like you and I always chat about, no more accommodation, just get people along to an event. But then again, that event, because it was so special, because there was only a few people, maybe 50 people maximum, and they were staying in the same place, a beautiful retreat. I mean, when you actually get there and the organization's done, there's nothing quite so rewarding as being able to hang out, because you can invite your heroes to come and talk, and then you can hang out with them for a week by a pool and having a few drinks in a bar at night. I mean, it's a really amazing experience, and you hear things that you would never hear from their online stuff and public stuff, and you get to know them in a way that you never would before. I already knew a lot about Jafir Clements, for example, but she's a very reserved character and nothing much comes out. But having stayed in a villa with her for a few days, I know who Jafir is, and it was wonderful. She came out of her shell and she's become a great friend. And I think we've got something very special with the Human Unleashed, because, I mean, Jafir is a very respected microbiologist, I think, is her main profession, her qualifications. And now she works with Paleomedicina in Hungary, just doing fantastic work, reversing all kinds of disease. But to have her come out of her shell to the point that she was kind of hugging us at the end and saying, I've never felt so accepted and so supported in any environment, and thank you. And I think this is what people are feeling from the fact that how well we get on, because people comment when we do our sort of four-way video chats, and it's always the great camaraderie, the respect we have for each other, and that comes through. You can't fake that. And the way that people are going to find like minds that they can get on with that well it's through just following your heart and putting yourself out there, and the people will come to you. You might get it 6 months down the line, you haven't found them, you go, this is nonsense, but they will come to you. It always reminds me of that cartoon where a guy's digging a tunnel, you know, looking for gold, and he digs sort of yards and yards in, and then he's 1 inch from that seam of gold, and he just goes, I've had enough, and he walks away. And it's usually at that point, if you break through that point, that the magic happens, where you just think, I've had enough. You know, so many times you hear it, don't you, in success stories, where they say, I was on the point of giving up. Nothing was working. And then suddenly such and such happened. And I think you have to realize that you do go through down times, you go through up times. It's not all tremendous success every single day. You have to slog through certain bits of swamp, you know, to get to the mountain.
And very often tighten your belt and, you know, live off very little while you allow yourself to follow your dreams.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, you know, if you're tied to a 9-to-5 job that takes the best energy that you've got 5 days a week, that's really hard to do. So one thing I was going to say before I do that, I just remembered, you know, the other side of working with people who, you know, are from your own tribe, if you like. Most of these businesses, you hear businesses and people come home from work all the time. I don't like this guy, or that guy's horrific, or he's really rude, or the boss, I hate my boss, I don't want to go to work. Well, that's because they've put money above their own life path. And so they've got stuck in a situation with people who they will never resonate with. They could be completely and utterly different people. So if you want to resonate with your own tribe, follow your heart. That was my last point on that one. Mm. Yeah, I like that. So what does a day in the life of Phil Escott look like now?
Oh, it depends. It changes so much. That's it. I never quite know what's going to go on. Going to go on when I wake up. I mean, right now it's kind of hanging out with the kids and doing the odd interview. But a day in the life, I mean, an ideal day in the life would be, I'd get up, I'd get some gratitude together for what I've experienced, what I've got, everything, my health that I've got back. I never walk up a flight of stairs without thanking the universe, you know. There was a time when I couldn't do it, at least very, very slowly. And so all these things stop you going into the day with the wrong attitude. Then I'll get up, I'll go outside, get the morning sun in my eyes, which if you join the Human Unleashed, you'll hear exactly why. And bare feet on the ground, do a bit of exercise. And then I might come up, have a shower, and with a cold shower afterwards, another thing you'll find out about in Human Unleashed. And then I eat and feed the kids. And then it's, I would say, what I like to put first. I try not to go straight to the computer, but often I do. But on an ideal day, I'd sit down, do an hour or an hour and a half drum practice. Because that's just doing one thing at once before you get sucked into the day's routine. And then I go check my messages and I'll respond to you. Sometimes we have so many messages that you got to respond to all across the Facebook groups and whatever. And then just whatever I put down for the day, whether it's writing something, whether it's making a video for my YouTube channel, or putting up some posts on Facebook to promote
your
that.
Channel's pretty popular as well. You've got best part 10,000 followers on there, and it's also extremely responsive, we've found.
Yes, we get a lot of interaction. It used to be from angry vegans, but they seem to have thinned out now, and it's more and more positivity is coming on. I mean, it's pretty much 99% positivity now, isn't it? It's wonderful, particularly with the recent chats that Ben's putting on the Human Unleashed, but they're free, so I'm also putting them on the YouTube channel. Beautiful, beautiful comments. And that in itself is so rewarding. And so I'll just spend the afternoon doing whatever comes up with that. And I will, because it's so compelling, and messages and thanks and healing stories and whatever come through all the time. And now, of course, with this incredible situation we're in and all the research we're all doing on it, people are sending you links all the time. You're following it down all sorts of rabbit holes. It's very difficult to turn that phone or the computer off, but as soon as I can, I do. It's sometimes not till 7 or 9 at night, but I'd rather it was about 5. On a good day, it can be about 5. But that's just because I love it and I can't resist it, and I can't resist interacting with these people. So that's basically what goes on. And I might, if I'm in the process of writing a book, you know, actually, if I'm in the process of writing a book, I'm not like Ben. Ben can seem to write at any time of day. I don't know, but I have to do it early in the morning. When I am actually writing a book, I have to get up at 5 o'clock and get straight into it before anything else. and that's the way I write. If I'm not writing, I can not have my best brain on. My best brain seems to be at about 5 o'clock in the morning, which is sort of time to wake
I like
up.
that 5 a.m. time is really good for writing as well.
I had
when no one else is up. And
I had an uncle, actually. I don't think I told you. Sorry, go on. Oh, I had an uncle. His name was Jonathan Escott, or Jack S. Scott. Well, he used to write under various pseudonyms. His name was Jack Escott. He was my Uncle Jack. And I think he was the second most popular author in the States at one point. And he wrote a series of detective novels. I've got the whole series, and I've only read a couple of them. But he was a great cartoonist, and he used to also write loads of stuff. I think he wrote a load of stuff for Norman Wisdom, all sort of comedy stuff. And do you remember That's Life with Esther Ranson?
Oh, yeah.
And there was that weird dude called Cyril, what was his name? Cyril's Odd Odes or something. And he used to sit in a chair and look all creepy with his glasses on. That was all written by my Uncle Jack. And I remember he told me that he couldn't work past midday. He'd get up, 6 o'clock, he'd write, and then midday, that was it. He was off. And he'd just go out for lunch, hang out, walk on the beach. He used to, in the end of his life, he just used to live in a motorhome and travel around.
And that's another key, really, for people as well, is you need to give yourself the time of doing bugger all.
Yeah.
In order to remain yourself, in order to, get the rest and the restore your energy in the way that you need.
Oh, you've got to. I mean, my main thing is a night a week carp fishing. And I get all my best ideas then, and it's been shut down to me now because we're all stuck in the house or whatever. And I'm not allowed to go out to a massive lake where there might be 2 other people and the nearest one will be 100 yards away. But for some bizarre reason, that's too close these days, so we're not allowed to go fishing. But that I'm missing. I'm finding I'm not recharging my batteries. I'm having to go out much more in the day and take some sun in, or stand on the ground with bare feet, or just to get some proper light. And I'm having to do that much more often because I'm not getting my main charge for the week. So
yeah. I'm the same. Look, Sally and I went out for a walk the day before yesterday, probably 2.5, 3 hours with the dogs. I was barefoot the whole time, shirt off in the sunshine, getting the vitamin D topped up. And, quite honestly, I don't think there's any job out there with any kind of salary attached that could prize me away from this lifestyle I've got right now.
Absolutely. I couldn't imagine it. I mean, I'm 57 now, coming up 58 next month, and I'm unemployable without a doubt. I can't think of anything I could really do in the ordinary workforce. So yeah, I'm happy with this, and I've just got to ride it out and see where it goes. I have no other option.
And have faith that the money will always come in, and you've probably got 10 or 12 sources of income as well.
Yeah.
Unlike if you're in a job, you piss your boss off, and suddenly your entire income can go. You lose that one client that you've got, and you can be finished.
Absolutely, yeah. It's about setting up multiple streams of income. And I remember walking around. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I have to look after the kids. I can't sit down in front of the computer all the time. So most of my study is podcasts these days, and it's great because you turn the phone onto airplane mode. Nobody can ever phone me up, and I've got the podcasts on. And whether I'm shopping or fishing or driving around to a gig or whatever, I've always got a podcast on. And I was listening about multiple streams of income, and I thought, God, that's a good idea. I must get onto that. And then I thought, hang on, I've got them. Because none of them are returning £1 million a month at the moment. I sort of think, oh, well, I don't have multiple streams of income. But every time I'll sort of get low on money, something will pop up, whether it's something coming through from the Human Unleashed that we're doing, or my YouTube channel, or some rent comes in from the houses that we've got, over and above the mortgages, when we can siphon a bit off from that. Or what else have I got? Well, there's the subtraction method course and the books on Amazon, and there's always that
affiliate income as well.
Yeah, yes, I do actually. Yeah, the blue blocking glasses that happen, and little bits from Ayres Tech, and just little fiddly bits that you set up, and then after a while, so weirdly they mount up, and you find that you can actually eat
and enjoy a wonderful lifestyle with you.
Oh, God, yes. I mean, I don't know what we'd do now because my partner's a key worker. She goes out. She's a nurse, and what would she do with the kids right now? They'd be looked after by somebody they don't really know, or they might be back in school with sort of some half-assed whatever they're doing now when they put key workers kids in school. But I get to hang out with them, and they're great. I mean, I don't feed them a whole load of sugar so they don't go mad. They might get a bit of chocolate every day, and then for half an hour they'll be punching each other, but after that they're great because they live on a pretty low carb lifestyle like we do, and they're pretty cool kids. So I'm really lucky. I think at the moment of all the single mums with sort of several toddlers stuck in a high-rise flat, feeding them cereal and wondering why they're going insane, and so she is consequently. And it must be horrific. So what's great is to be able to know that we're helping people like that. When they find us, they can go, that's why that's happening, you know. And the stories we hear, I mean, they're amazing. You see them, and they are so rewarding, aren't they? It's tremendous.
Yeah, wonderful stuff. Phil, thank you so much for sharing your time with me, and I hope the kids haven't killed each other downstairs while we've been talking.
I heard one little bit of shouting, but that's quite normal. I think they're all right. There was no big thud and then shouting, which is the problem usually. But it's okay. They're cool.
Excellent. Well, it's just brilliant. It's always brilliant to hear the story of somebody who has made that transition. Well, you didn't really ever make that transition. You just forged your way through. It's not like you were in a boring job and had to tunnel your way out. You've made it for yourself, and
I remain stubbornly, not so much as you, stubbornly rebellious and nonconformist. I think is the plan that I had, which everybody told me would never work out, but actually it has.
Yeah. So to be happy as Phil, all you need to do is be stubbornly nonconformist, follow your heart, follow your path, make those connections, publish without, knowing where you're ever going to get paid. Just keep sharing it. Keep sharing it. Don't look back. It works.
Absolutely. Perfect.
Phil, thank you so much, mate.
Thank you, mate.
All the best.